Hey everyone, my name's Keenan. Welcome to the August 19th, 2021 bi-weekly recap call, which I'll be taking over in Sky's absence. For those of you who may not know or are listening at home, the community recap call happens bi-weekly on Thursdays, opposite to our community discussion calls. This call gives an avenue for the DXdao squads to keep other contributors and the community at large in the loop on recent events and initiatives. As we all know here, DXdao has a lot going on, so let's get started right away with the product squads. Starting with Omen, who I believe Geronimo is missing. Maybe John can fill in for. Or Nathan,
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah, I believe Nathan got briefed, so I'll hand it to him.
Yeah, basically the latest update from the Almond Contributor Squad is they've made an amendment regarding the Almond token airdrop that's pending, and users will actually be able to claim their Almond tokens via the Almond accounts within the dApp on both mainnet and DXdao, but it has to be noted that a small amount of DXdao will be necessary in order to be able to claim the tokens. And also regarding the Almond Guild, there's currently ongoing testing of the liquidity rewards feature that will be conducted via the dApp's front end. And yeah, also the new smart contract changes, they're all awaiting audits currently. And the squad's current focus is fully on the implementation of the first alpha version of the guild's interface. So quite a lot of work to do, and everyone's busy.
Cool, yeah. Thanks, Nathan. Any other context on Omen?
I would just add that we are potentially facing some delays on the auditing, depending on the availability of our usual auditor and other auditing squads. But I'm on top of that and looking into options. So just wanted to provide that update.
Great, thanks, guys. Let's move right ahead to Aqua then. Ross, if you want to give an update.
Yeah, sure. So we've just been working towards the MVP, which is waiting for audits. Whilst we wait for that, we've been sort of making some improvements, mostly surrounding UX and just improving that, as well as working on branding. So we've got a logo in the works currently, and that should be sort of ready for release alongside the MVP. We're also planning some sales and looking at potential use cases for Aqua inside the DAO. And since we're kind of running out of UX work as well, we're moving on to the features that will be in the next release after this MVP, just as we wait for audit. And that's everything from Aqua.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Moving on to our next product squad, Swapper. Zet, if you want to give an update.
Swapper team, let's go. We are doing a lot of stuff. So we've been working on the Arbitrum and Swapper token launch, basically preparing for it. The claimer is on swapper.dev, can be tested, and there's a lot of other updates also on swapper.dev that we merged some farming interface improvements, mobile improvements, bug fixes, menus should work on like landscape mode on mobile, stuff like that. So yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff. We do have Swapper Arbitrum launch steps on DAO Talk. That should next step should be someone creating a proposal with these steps actually to launch both Swapper token and Arbitrum. Yeah. Other than that, we're just doing what we can to launch the Swapper token and Arbitrum as soon as possible. Any questions?
Cool. Yeah, great. Thank you, Zet. Moving on to our next product squad, DXvote. Augusto, if you want to give an update.
Hello, hola a todos. Yes, well, the main thing that we have been working on DXbot is the deployment on Arbitrum. So we have some talk with the Swapper team, with John and mainly John and Federico to discuss which we thought were the best parameters for deployment. Also for a scheme that we created that is called Swapper Wallet Scheme. The main idea of this wallet scheme is to execute quick actions between the avatar in behalf of the DXdao address in Arbitrum and the Swapper protocol. So everything has been deployed. The only two things that remains to be done is to update, to sync the reputation to the last block, because when I did the deployment, I used a block that is not, it's like, I think it's a few months ago. So we can update the proposal after update the reputation with one proposal, and a final configuration to set some parameter configurations so we can start use it on Arbitrum. I'm going to be sharing an update on DAO Talk, but that's mainly it. This is the 5th network that we are in. So we are using DXvote on mainnet, XDAI, Rinkeby, Arbitrum testnet, and now Arbitrum. So these are 5 networks where DXvote is running. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, very important feature, that this is the first time that we are going to be using DXD, the real DXD, the one from mainnet, for staking. This happens because we are going to be using DXD voting machine on Arbitrum. So we will be bridging DXD from mainnet to Arbitrum, and this is the token that is going to be used for staking.
And there was some more extensive discussion of this topic on yesterday's governance call too, if anybody wants to go check that out.
No one else is doing like cross-chain governance at the moment, right?
We actually asked this yesterday at the governance call, and I don't know, nobody said anything. I don't know if people are really up to date on the exact governance models of other DAOs and projects, but
I mean,
they're all using Snapshot.
Doing any on-chain governance, let alone cross-chains.
yeah, I guess if you are just using Snapshot and a multi-sig, then yeah, it's barely any chain governance, let alone cross-chain.
I wonder if, I'm guessing Aave does, because it's like on mainnet and on Polygon. So probably.
Cool, guys. Anything else on DXvote? Great. Thank you, Augusto. Looking at the schedule here, Sky did slot in Carrot. I'm not sure if we have an update for Carrot today or if we want to push that back to next recap call.
Yeah, I don't think there's any activity on Carrot. Just don't have the developer resources at the moment. But it's definitely something that I think people are excited about, and that we hopefully will be finding time for soon.
Excellent. Perfect. Let's move on to the other squads and their weekly recaps now, starting with DXGov. But I do believe Dave is missing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't see him here. I guess we could talk a little bit about the governance recap. I mean, it went over some of the proposals, amongst which is a funding request for the DX retreat, tentatively planned for Portugal around the Lisbon Blockchain Week, with a couple of conferences there, that the ETH Lisbon Hackathon, and I think ListCon is the conference. So then there's more standard proposals, like more DXD buybacks in the works on XDAI, some worker proposals and rep syncs on mainnet. And I think the other main thing that took up probably most of the discussion was the DX vote that's being deployed onto Arbitrum, and the relevant changes that are in place with this new version of governance as compared to the mainnet version. So yeah, if you're interested in that topic, I would check out the second half of the governance call from yesterday when it's on YouTube. And other than that, I don't know, maybe I missed something if others.
I think a lot of the topic was focusing on Arbitrum for sure, which we kind of already mentioned. So I think that covers all of it. Great. And next up would be DX Purse, but as we mentioned, Dave is missing today. Not sure if anyone here has any context on DX Purse. I personally do not.
The only thing I would add is that there has been some discussions with the Reflexer and RAI. Reflexer is the governance or ungovernance token. RAI is the stable asset, though it's not USD pegged. There's some discussions with that team and some work being done looking into whether that's a good option for diversifying the treasury. And the thinking there being, primarily that, DXdao wants to be not dependent on centralized entities. It wants to be a sovereign collective, and projects like USDT and USDC are, exercise, or at least have the ability to do things from, individual centralized entities, right? Like if Circle or Coinbase or that Center Foundation wants to do something with USDC, it's within their technical capabilities to do it because it's an upgradable contract. They have a blacklist. I think Tether says some similar controls. And so, yeah, plus there's the whole thinking about, whether it makes sense to have something that's dollar pegged. So, yeah, so RAI seems like a potentially attractive option as another stable asset to diversify the treasury into. And yeah, it's being looked into.
Great. Thanks for stepping in, John. Moving on to the next topic, DX Biz, looking for an update there. Obviously, Sky missing, so maybe Nylon and or Nathan.
Yeah. So yeah, regarding DX Biz, we had a call with Atlantis World, which is sort of like I guess 2D metaverse. They're just getting started, and it looks very promising. Yeah, what they basically want to do is build like the whole DeFi ecosystem into this metaverse world, and then you could interact with DeFi products through that metaverse, which is pretty cool. This could be relevant for DX Ventures and potentially as a collaboration for the DXdao. So that's one. Another presentation we've had at the DX Biz call is Agora World. Sorry, Agora Space. And Agora Space, basically, they want to build all the different kind of fractalized toolings that, let's call it like off-chain DAOs are using today. And this could be from things like Coordinate and SourceGrid that, people could reward others in the chat and in communication channels to, I forget the name of that thing. The like gated communities, and only if you have a token you can enter a chat or a forum, and they want to basically create this entire thing as like one suite of products. They're also kind of getting started, but they're very big on decentralization. They really yeah, they really want to collaborate with DXdao for that reason, because we are also sort of like decentralization focused. So that's that. And the last thing we had in the biz call was Francesca and Elena from Greater Than came. And this is like a proposal that I'm pushing forward, and it's in the forums for a 2-day like strategy, like DXdao strategy workshop around the DX retreat in Portugal. And yeah, that's that. Yeah. If anyone else says any comments, let me know.
Great. Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for that, Nylon. Moving on to the next topic of DX Ventures, also missing Sky. I'm not sure if anyone has any context for DX Ventures.
Yeah, so maybe I can talk about that as well. Like Atlantis World is one of the projects that we're speaking to. There are a bunch of other projects as well. Nothing is concrete. I think like the last thing we sort of passed on was the Prime DAO investment due to a variety of reasons. And I think like the biggest one is kind of like the time constraint around that decision. So that's that. Just to like put things in perspective, we really learned from that experience and sort of figuring out like what DX Ventures does, what questions we want to ask, and we will be sharing internally. Probably this won't be like fully public, but we'll share like with the members of DXdao sort of like a list of questions that we're going to be asking startups, and we're going to be writing down for each startup that DX Ventures wants to invest in. So that's that. Yeah.
Any questions
Also,
or
with
Go ahead.
the help of Keenan, he gave us a good tip, and we managed to list Swapper on DAppRadar. We're progressing with the listing of Swapper on DeFi Pulse. By the end of this week, we will officially have the Chainlink Oracle for Carrot working. We are working on a collab based on a tip from Geronimo and Deb Violet on a collaboration with Pocket Network that will span outside just helping Almond, but also potentially Aqua and Swapper. But that will it might take till the end of the year, where there are a few dependencies on both sides. There's an ongoing proposal, a vote on chain for the continuation of the house token farming, and yeah.
Great, thanks, guys. Moving on to the next squad, DX Voice, which I will be giving a recap for. Let's see here. Yeah, so DX Voice has had a deep focus on the upcoming Arbitrum launch. As we all know, we've been involved in Swapper tokenomics, farming pairs, general marketing strategy, etc. We're preparing for some guerrilla marketing focusing on Reddit. As you may or may not know, they're scaling their community points through Arbitrum, which is a massive alignment in our missions. So we're aiming to become the first incentivized moon pool on Arbitrum on launch day. Similarly, we'll be targeting a large link pool at launch, capitalizing on the vocal link community and their transition to Arbitrum. Related to this, we're discussing how we can cross-integrate Reddit predictions with Omen. Is there an avenue for Omen to automate the scraping of markets and point users to the decentralized equivalent? Something along those lines we've been exploring. And lastly, on Arbitrum, we're exploring the potential for special POAPs for the launch, AMA, etc. So a lot of cool things to look forward to in the next week or two as we learn the Arbitrum launch date and go through the deployment process. We've also been exploring a community highlight program aimed to facilitate good content from the community. Not quite ready to share, but there may be incentives involved. Lots of fun there. DXVoice has also prepared its annualized budget sheet, considering the initial funding proposal of the multisig. What this means is basically that we can formally utilize the multisig, apply pressure, focusing on the Arbitrum launch and Swapper token first and foremost. And finally, we've been focusing a bit too much on Arbitrum to finalize the specifics of what the DXVoice brand and identification of revenue potential, etc. But I think this might be a great opportunity to share our logo, which I will post right now in the marketing channel on Keybase. Let's see here. It is now in the marketing channel. For the time being, this will operate simply as our squad logo. But looking to the future, as I mentioned, this can be utilized through any initiative, product, or otherwise anything else that we want to handle as the DXVoice squad. So take a look at that. Super exciting, and like I mentioned, not quite ready to share what exactly the specifics of DXVoice mean, but expect that in the next coming weeks. And yeah, that's all from us. Moving on to our last squad, we have the contributor experience squad, of which is missing today. A very brief update I can give is that the squad has been working on a referral program for DXdao, targeting contributors referring, obviously, new contributors. I believe that is on the forum. I'd have to take a peek and see if I can link it here. Not popping up immediately. Oh, here we go. DX referral. Yeah, so take a look at that if you haven't already. I'm under the impression this will be led to a vote in the coming week. So if you haven't already, take a look. If you have any feedback, leave it. The other initiative is obviously the compensation overhaul, which has been left to simmer and kind of reassess once the craziness of Arbitrum is over. I'm under that impression. So I'd expect that discussion and a write-up to come out after this kind of crazy Arbitrum period, and hopefully an update that we can all move forward on. Not sure if anyone else had anything for contributor experience. Cool.
Yeah. I guess maybe it's a part of contributor experience, but maybe we could talk about just the DX retreat. I know like both like the leading guys from that are not here, but I don't know. There are lots of topics, I guess, to discuss around that.
Yeah, definitely. I personally am not as caught up as I should be, so I'm not sure if anyone else has the context to share.
Well, I think we could maybe, for the sake of this call, like recap it a little bit. I mean, the idea is to get the contributors together for a week or maybe a little bit longer in one location, right? So like a lot of members have still not met each other. You know, a decent number of folks went to ECC, but I, you know, at least speaking for myself, I still have not met over like half of the folks that I work with at DXdao. So I think a retreat would be a great opportunity for the contributors to make connections, form bonds, and like kind of get better at working together. And so that's kind of the idea. What the contributor UX folks, along with Dave, are working on. Yeah, we have a couple of people that know a decent amount about Portugal, and there are a couple of conferences coming up in October. So the timing seems good. The location seems good because it is relatively convenient for European and as well as like America's based contributors. You know, obviously not perfect for everybody, but I think in terms of where contributors live, it works pretty well as like a center of mass location. Yeah, so basically the idea is like, I think it's the second week of October, get folks together prior to the conferences for a week and maybe a weekend, maybe even a couple of days before the first conference starts, and to do things like co-work, you know, meet each other, maybe do some workshops that, Nyland's been spearheading the effort on, and also have some fun together.
Losing laser tag.
Yeah, and just have some fun and get to know each other, right? Like, and I think that there's a lot of value to that. So yeah, it's exciting to see that this is happening, because I guess DXdao was sort of born in the pandemic in some ways, right? Obviously, it was like incepted in 2019, but it didn't really get contributors until early, kind of mid last year. So, for a lot of folks, we haven't had much time together outside of the ECC conference, perhaps.
Yeah, thanks for that, John. Anything
So I
else?
think, I want to say that if anyone has ideas, thoughts, things they want to do for that week, any activities that they think will be beneficial, anything they want to contribute, then speak up. I think Nathan and Melanie are concentrating these efforts, but feel free to share them and bring these up.
Yeah, definitely. It's coming up fast, right? In a way. So we should try to get a schedule together as soon as we can.
Yeah, and I guess on top of that, there are lots of opportunities around, like ETH Lisbon, the hackathon, and LizCon, and then and the DAOist conference, and there are questions whether DXdao wants to sponsor, wants to participate in these events. So I think these are also being sort of like managed by Melanie, and yeah. And I believe they are in the meeting about LizCon right now. That's why they're not here.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I think there's a community call for that is happening, unfortunately at the same time as this call, but that's great that they are representing DXdao. And I do think it is a big opportunity to do these in-person conferences, if and when they are kind of coming back online. I think one of the main challenges that DXdao has faced all along and continues to be, a significant issue is recruiting developers and increasing our development capacity. And I think, sponsoring and being present at hackathons and core Ethereum conferences is a key way to build the DXdao brand and to recruit. So I think this is a big opportunity to start doing that.
Also winning hackathons.
Yeah, or providing prizes for hackathons. Of course, if our contributors win, that's great too. But yeah, I almost view it more as an opportunity to engage potential other future contributors who are happening to be winning the hackathons. I think Federico is a great example of somebody who won a hackathon and then was recruited into DXdao.
Yeah, I guess the best thing that we can do during this blockchain week is to show ourselves, make connections, recruit people, and show everything that we have been working to. Also work together like the week before. I guess this will be the main goal of the DX retreat, and make the best of our time working together. At least do some co-working. That would be super helpful for us to work together for a week at least, right? That is the best thing that you can take from these events. Connections and make yourself known, make your product, your organization known. That should be our role there. Make sure that everyone understands why DXdao is so awesome, and make sure that everyone's people who is looking for work, good technical people, wants to work with us.
Excellent, guys. Anything else on that topic? Great. Yeah, we're a bit under time, but missing quite a few people. Thanks for stepping in, everyone who helped step in. Unless there's any other comments or topics, we can end the recap call here.
I want to bring something up. just Nathan and I had a call right before this, and an idea came about this, like kind of like a couple of angles, but a lot of products are trying to launch right now, and because of like regulatory uncertainty, they don't really know what to do. They don't really know how to do it, and it looks like DXdao could provide them with, I don't know, some services around, launching your product, becoming a part of the DXdao family, and, still giving them like governance and ownership of their product and form of tokens, but being a part of the DXdao family, and, the DXdao kind of gets a share of the tokens. Everything is deployed by the DXdao. And yeah, just like this is like super raw, but this is an interesting idea. It kind of relates to the hackathons. If there are hackathon projects they want to launch, but they don't really know how to do it, and yeah, like and this also makes sense in the sense of like Aqua, so they could actually do a token launch with Aqua and provide liquidity on Swapper, and yeah, oh yeah, we can call it the shadowy super dev DAO.
Well, I think the beauty of this too, because DXdao is fairly well distributed, and importantly, like does its governance on chain, there aren't really barriers to doing this, right? Like there's actually, the road is pretty open for projects to actually do this. Of course, they probably are going to want to connect with contributors and understand things before they go ahead. But technically speaking, it's more or less as simple as making a DAO talk post like we do with our, the existing products, doing a release and saying, hey, it would be great if DXdao deployed this, right? Then anybody, and it could be anonymous or not, like a community member of DXdao can make a proposal, give a domain name to DXdao, and you're off to the races, right? So, yeah, I think that's an exciting idea, right? And I'm sure like deploying is just like the start. There's a lot of potential areas where you could almost view DXdao as infrastructure, decentralized infrastructure for projects, which starts to almost look like a little bit like an incubator in some ways, but it might be a little bit more about the infrastructure and less about telling people what to do or like coaching them, right?
Yeah. And like these frameworks are very, like, they're good. I'm speaking to startups, and a lot of them are like, especially if they're US based, they're like, I have no idea what to do. Like, we can't launch a token, we can't do any of these things. And yeah, like this is not for show. Like I have this like comment on Twitter recently that, like most of these governance systems are like just for show in front of regulators, but with DXdao, it is actually decentralized. So there isn't really much to argue against on that regard. So yeah.
Not a dino, as Hester Pierce, the SEC commissioner in the US, put it, right? The decentralized and name only is a label that they put on some projects that were kind of, maybe they were scamming and doing some other bad stuff too. So they were getting fines, but yeah, like they were labeling some projects as decentralized and name only. And I think DXdao is the opposite of that. And I also think there is this like gap, right? There's this huge gap in the market that you're identifying here with US based innovation, right? Because the US has like an enormous amount of venture capital and so many resources and people that are entrepreneurial and working on stuff, but they are being kind of held back from the crypto space by potential regulatory uncertainty. And that's really unfortunate, but it does create this kind of need and gap in the market.
Yeah, so I think the challenge here is like structuring this, whatever this offering is exactly, and then starting to reach out to projects and see if they're interested. And I think like Nathan has already done that. Yeah, like this is like a super cool kind of initiative that I could see like really making DXdao, I don't know, some sort of incubator or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that makes DXdao strong, or what makes it unique, is how seriously the DXdao community and governance like takes decentralization, right? So I would almost view that as spearheading like the actual decentralization of DeFi and surrounding efforts. like helping to catalyze the crypto community to take the actual decentralization part more seriously.
Yes, and I think we should lead in that and be like more vocal about things we're championing in this regard. Like I'm going to be, I don't know, in the next couple of months, I want to sort of like work and put the word out for DXvote and how it works and how could other products use it. Because yeah, sort of to be like leaders in the space of like actual decentralization.
Yeah, totally. I think that is something that we should put more of a focus on. We were starting to talk about it a bit on the dev call this week, but making sure that we are prioritizing our efforts and focusing on the things that we're most excited about, especially if resources are spread a bit thin. So maybe that's something we will discuss further in the coming weeks.
And on the retreat, in the retreat.
Yeah, that again, a great opportunity for us to discuss this kind of thing and yeah, maybe get some clarity on strategy. I think we have some vague sense, but definitely worth some discussion.
Great. Yeah, thanks, guys. Anything else on that before we finish up here?
It's worth, I think, Caden's point here too, on the potential of like DXdao as incubator, like looking at the product suite. Aqua could help projects launch their token. Swapper could help with liquidity. DXvote can help them with governance, and I think extending that, they could potentially even leverage other squads within DXdao to help them get going, whether that's DX Voice or the marketing and communication squad or the biz dev, like potentially all of the infrastructure that DXdao has, from its contributors to its smart contracts and to its products could be like, leveraged to help support decentralized projects and kind of bring them into a DXdao ecosystem or under a DXdao umbrella, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think also like leverage the knowledge you have and like the contributors here have about DAOs. Because I remember there's a forum post. There have been a few forum posts recently actually where people have been coming and asking us about how do I make a DAO. I think there is one guy who was asking about that for some sort of a DeFi DAO, and he asked for our expertise. So if we provided consulting services, then that could be another, like, I guess, to tie it all together. Like if our consulting can help them set everything up with all our products.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think this is super interesting, and it's I think a potentially huge opportunity and a big need, right? And something that DXdao is uniquely positioned to serve. So I think it's a really exciting idea and something we should focus more on.
All right, yeah, awesome. Thanks, everyone. We'll end the call here. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for those that stepped in for the missing squads. And we'll see you next week for the community call.
Thanks, Keaton. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
How do I stop recording?